And that was before the Republican war on women opened on the new front. In comments, Indiana Senate candidate Richard Murdoch, America's sweetheart, made about rape and abortion in his Tuesday night debate.
The only exception I have to have an abortion is in that case of the life of the mother. I think even when life begins in that horrible situation of rape, that it is something that God intended to happen.
Ladies, that's a man deciding what God wants for you. Now, Romney continues to endorse Murdoch. So does South Carolina Senator Jim DeMint.
If Richard Murdoch doesn't win the Senate seat, I'm probably going to be stuck with Harry Reid and the Barack Obama agenda for a long time to come. So I need Richard Murdoch's help a lot more than he needs my help.
Oh, Jim DeMint. Florida Senator Marco Rubio also backs Murdoch, as does Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell and Arizona Senator John McCain. Now, McCain had denounced Murdoch's comments, but then came back to the Republican fold after Murdoch apologized, not for what he said, but for confusing people about where he stood. We weren't confused, Mr. Murdoch, and John McCain is now a maverick against the concept of being a maverick. Now, Murdoch insists he never really meant to suggest that God wants rape or condones rape, just the part where the rapist's sperm fertilizes the victim's egg. That's the part God shows up for. Now, President Obama took that up on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno just last night.
I don't know how these guys come up with these ideas. Let me make a very simple proposition. Rape is rape.
And Tina Fey spoke for millions of women and men when she offered this.
If I have to listen to one more gray-faced man with a $2 haircut explain to me what rape is, I'm going to lose my mind.
But former Bush Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice insisted on Fox News, where else, that no matter what some Republicans said about women, Mitt Romney would always sort of be there for them.
I am not always in agreement with everything that's written in the Republican platform about social issues, but I know that Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan are going to respect the views of those who may disagree on these issues.
That was Condoleezza Rice, who supports abortion rights, supporting a candidate who thinks someday Roe versus Wade should be repealed and those people should be thrown in jail. Now, President Obama received a more substantive endorsement this morning from another Republican, former Secretary of State, General Colin Powell.
I voted for him in 2008, and I plan to stick with him in 2012. I think we ought to keep on the track that we are on.
For more on the myth of momentum, Murdoch and the numbers, I'm joined by Tina Dupuy, syndicated columnist and editor-in-chief at thecontributor.com, and the one and only Eric Boehlert, senior fellow for Media Matters for America. Good evening, both of you. Thanks for joining us. Let me start with you, Eric. Did the Romney team start invoking momentum because they really believed it, or they were hoping the media might pick up on the media?
A little bit of both.
Yeah.
A little bit of both. And it worked. I mean, you know, even after Romney lost that debate, the last debate, very badly. Every snap poll showed he lost. The CBS snap poll showed he lost by 30 points. He would be the first candidate ever to have momentum after losing the final debate by 30 points. But they put it out there. Karl Rove was doing that in 2000 with the Bush campaign. Remember, he famously sent George Bush to California 2 days before the election when he needed to be in Florida. But the press absolutely picked up and ran with it. Politico, some of the other insider publications early in the week. You know, Romney's got momentum. He's got momentum. This sort of fits into how the media has covered this race. In the summer and early fall, when Obama was ahead, it was really tied. Now that it's tied, Romney's sort of ahead.
Right.
He sort of gets the benefit of the doubt. But again, you know, you talked about the math and the polls. You know, Romney would be the first, also be the first candidate to have the momentum who trails in every toss-up state that he has to win. I mean, that's not momentum.
Exactly. He's got to win every swing state and convince at least 40% of Latinos to start liking him.
Right.
That's what he's facing.
Right. I mean, I call this GOP caulking. They want to make themselves look bigger. They want to augment their numbers, so they hire homeless people to wear, you know, Scott Brown T-shirts, stuff like that. They have a lot of money, so their voice is loud. Their free speech is louder than the rest of ours. But, you know, they have to say this. They can't say we're losing. Republicans always act like they're 10 points ahead. Yeah. Democrats always think that they're 10 points behind, right, even when they're 20 points ahead.
And that's what makes Democrats stay home on Election Day. But I got to take issue. The polls aren't lying here. Mitt Romney is doing quite well, and it seems like he didn't get the bounce from clinching the nomination. He didn't get the bounce for announcing Paul Ryan as the running mate. Didn't get the bounce at the big convention. He got the bounce from Barack Obama.
That's right.
Fair enough. First debate, that was when the tide turned.
Right. There was one debate out of 4 where their ticket did. They won the whole thing.
Yeah, which is bizarre. And also, let me ask both of you, how would that explain this sudden shift of women voters toward the Romney column?
I'm not, you know, I don't know. It does seem peculiar. There's basically been 2 polls, the AP, this one, and there was a USA Today swing state poll a week or 10 days ago. You know, I don't want to get into poll methodology and what's a good poll, what's a bad poll. There's way too many polls, and you can pick whatever you want. But if you look at the state polls, if you look like that Time poll from Ohio, every state poll really shows Obama still maintains a very comfortable lead among women voters. It's when you go to these national polls that, and then look at the women voters that he doesn't do as well. Is that what's going on? I don't know. I would be shocked if there was a major turn late in the campaign for such an important voting bloc.
Right.
Well, the other night with Mr. Gore on camera for the debate, we talked about the possibility of a Democrat winning the Electoral College and losing the popular vote, and what kind of karma sandwich that would be for the Republicans. Do either of you see that as being likely?
No, I don't think that it. I know it feels like it's going to be close now because there's a lot of polls that are having conflicting reports, but I don't think that we're going. I think it's a nice media narrative that we're going to have this tie. I think that it's going to be decided the night of the election, and it's going to be decisive.
Right. A few months ago, when Todd Akin made his legitimate rape comments about the female body being able to shut down a pregnancy when it darn well feels like it, Democrats predicted that was the end of the GOP even being in contention for the women's vote. We've seen that wasn't the case. Do you all think that in the wake of what Richard Murdoch just said the other night in Indiana, the Democrats' fortunes may turn over the next few days if the word gets out?
The interesting thing about this Richard Murdoch story is that his opponent is a pro-life Democrat. His opponent is the liberal one who says that we should be able to get abortions if we're raped, only if we're raped. So, you know, I mean, it's like, this is a very strange story as to where we, as women, we have kind of accepted our representation in Washington is going to be, you know, complete criminalization or criminalization with a caveat.
Right. Well, exactly. I mean, that's what we're essentially talking about is, and we'll talk about this later in the show, but the language that I don't hear used is he wants to criminalize abortion, so down the road, women and their doctors who have this procedure would go to jail.
Well, he wants to nationalize women. That basically, if something inside of us has more rights than trumps our rights, then we're basically, we are, you know, slaves to our fertility. I mean, it's really, really scary. I mean, they can talk about it all they want about how, you know, rape, there's a positive side of rape, and we should all think of rape as just, you know, God's will, and that's
in fairness, that's not what Mr. Murdoch said. He didn't say that.
Well, right, but there is an upside to rape, is what they've been telling us. And last week we had Joe Walsh, who said that because of science is so great, women no longer need abortions to protect their health.
Yes, who would have ever guessed that a guy named Joe Walsh would make the Joe Walsh from the Eagles look like the wholesome one? What can the president or the Democratic Party do at this point to get female voters who've swung over to Romney? And Romney, I guess to his credit, has been effective in pushing this line, women care more about jobs than about abortion rights. It seems to have worked. What can Democrats do to try and sway these voters back?
Well, you know, I think he's just going to keep talking about what Democrats have talked about for decades. I mean, it's funny, I was looking at the statistics today. The last time the Republicans won the female vote was Jimmy Carter or Gerald Ford. They flip-flopped, and that was, it's been a long time since a Republican has won the woman vote. But what's interesting about the Murdoch story is how was it covered, you know, in the conservative press? How was it covered on Fox News? That was absolutely the most interesting and important story of the last 24 hours in the cycle. Fox News couldn't find it on you couldn't find it on a map. Media Matters took a look. Couple out, you know, some of the other cable channels, 2 hours, hour and a half. Fox News, 2 minutes.
Shocking.
I mean, they went about 24 hours and they could not find the story. They have an entire news staff, but it doesn't exist. You know, it's one thing to push an agenda. We'll put a story high, we'll put it low. But when Fox News just like, it doesn't exist, it really tells you what they're doing.
And this is what we're looking at. The Democrats are going to try to use this as a wedge issue, while the Republicans try to use Benghazi as their wedge issue. I suspect both topics may go away as of November 7th.
Well, hopefully not. I mean, I think that the president did a fantastic job last night on Jay Leno, saying that he basically said that male politicians should not be making these decisions for women. Indeed. And I think that's what a lot of women feel.
It's such a pleasure to have you both here. Really quick, Colin Powell's endorsement, does it mean anything? Eric?
Not as much as it did 2008. I think it just highlights the Republican Party. You know, he used to be this war hero when he was with Bush, and now he endorses Obama, and it's all Colin Powell, who's that guy?
That's great.
I think if he endorsed Romney, that would be a bigger story.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right, because Romney, of course, is a heroic draft dodger. Tina Dupuy, syndicated columnist and editor-in-chief at thecontributor.com, and Eric Boehlert, senior fellow for Media Matters with America, two of the smartest people I know. Thank you both so much for your time tonight.